Hi, this is Regeline Scott, also known as Gigi. You're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Ayo Gospodinova. Ayo is an author, business mentor, and strategist, launch and ads expert, and marketing agency owner. Welcome to the show, Ayo.
Hi, Gigi. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. And happy Monday to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Happy Monday. Now, why don't you start off by telling us about you and where you are from?
So I'm originally a Bulgarian. I come from a country in Europe. It's called Bulgaria. It's a small country, but in the last 12 years, I have traveled all over the world. So now I can easily say that I really belong to the whole planet. I have been in Africa, all over Africa. I have been in Latin America. So to be honest with you, when people ask me where I come from, I just say the earth because I belong to absolutely everywhere.
I love it. Now, what inspired you to become a business mentor?
So I've always been into entrepreneurship. When I started working 12 years ago, and guys, I know you will be like, what? You look like you're 18. I know, good genes. But when I started working at my corporate job, I didn't feel right. I was like, okay, this is not myself. I don't feel comfortable, the 9 to 5. And I don't want to disrespect anyone. Big shout out to people with a 9 to 5 job. You're the real MVPs, but it wasn't my thing. I couldn't be controlled by a boss. I couldn't unleash the inner power that I carry within me, and I couldn't really impact people. So a couple of years, I was really struggling. And even though I got my dream job, I was working for National Geographic. I manifested this position. It was my dream to go to Africa and be part of this massive media outlet. I was feeling unfulfilled and I couldn't sleep and I didn't know what's the issue. I was like, Ayo, you should be really happy and proud. But I wasn't. And that's when I said, that's enough. I'm going to take the big leap. I'm going to jump. I'm ready for it. I'm going to start my own business, my own agency. At that time, I had a lot of experience with social media. I have been doing that even before Facebook was a thing. Again, don't calculate my age, please, guys. But I already had all the experience. I had all the connections. It was just a reasonable step to take. But it's very difficult. Sometimes it's the right thing to do, and yet you question it. So this is how everything started. And I love it every single day. I love waking up and working with business owners just like me, especially now in times like that when you know what's happening to the economy. You know how business owners feel. They're crunched even more by the circumstances. But I always say that in times like that, your genius comes out. And you know my story. You know that actually challenging times made me the person that I am today.
Speaking of challenge, tell us a little bit more about
Well, Gigi, it has always been a bumpy road, and I am a strong believer that you will not be sent anything that you cannot overcome. In fact, you're being sent challenges to go through them and then teach people and be like a doula. You know what's a doula? I think I'm kind of missing you, but we'll see. The internet is on. So you know what's a doula? A doula basically is helping you to go through a birth, which is a challenge. And I see us people who go through ups and downs, and some of us go through some massive things. I mean, everyone's road is very specific, and we need to respect everyone in their journey. But I have been through some really hectic things. So when I was growing up, I lost my dad. I was 12 years old, and I loved him. He was the love of my life. And then for me, that was a turning point in my life. And I know you might say, well, you were just 12, but that really influenced my life and who I am right now. It turned me into a leader, into a person who takes quick decisions, a woman who's not counting on anyone to go and pick her up from school or whatever. She's pushing. She's not a daddy's girl. She's doing her own stuff, and she's a fighter. And then as I was growing up, the other major challenge in my life was this major step to being part of National Geographic. And as a little Bulgarian girl coming from this country where everyone in Europe treats us like a second-class citizen, we're not Western Europeans, we're Eastern Europeans. Everyone was like, you're not going to do it, girl. How are you going to get there? Well, I told him, I'm going to get there and I'm going to take photos and I'm going to send you these photos, how I'm going to make it. So basically this created this resilience. And I always say, thank God that I'm a Taurus, to be so stubborn that every time there's a challenge, I go straight through it with my massive horns, which is basically my will. But the massive, huge challenge that I faced was the day that I made the decision to start my very first company. That was about 5 years ago. And I was going through this terrible, toxic relationship. And I didn't know how I ended up there. And we as women, we often, I don't know how, but good women sometimes attract these situations where you're like, oh my God, how did I get there? And you can't go out. And people look at you and you're like, how can you not go out? Well, you can't. And you're just stuck in there and it's like things are getting worse. So I was going through this terrible, toxic relationship where I felt like my life force is going away. And as a woman, you know how much life force we hold in ourselves. And if that's not nourished, what happens? It leaks, energy leaks. And I felt like that. But that didn't stop me. I said, okay, I'm going to leave this relationship and I'm going to move on, which meant leaving the country. I was living in South Africa. I had to leave because you cannot grow in the same environment that hurts you. That's one massive thing. You have to go out of this environment in order to heal. And I had to go completely out. Well, the thing was, my whole life that I built for such a long time was falling apart. Everything, my business, my career, my environment. And you know, proximity is big. So you make relationships and connections. That's major for business. Gone. I had to go back. And it's like, it wasn't even that enough, but I got into a major health issue, which I discussed with you. I don't want to go into details because that's very private and you know, but I was physically in a very bad situation and I was rushed into hospital. And the thing was that I had to pay this massive bill and I had only $300 in my pocket, literally. And I was like, oh my God, I'm completely alone. End of the world. You know where South Africa is. It's really the end of the world. There's no one to help me. I don't have anyone to call. This person who was supposed to be my partner is not there to support me in any way. And on top of all, I'm starting a business here. And logically, what would you do? You will give up. But I didn't. I went back home and the next day, and people were forbidding me. My doctors say, you should not be moving in the following 3 months. You should not be doing anything physical. I dressed up. I put my presentation. I took my iPad and I went out hardcore, knocking doors, selling my agency services, the social media, Facebook ads on this long strip in Cape Town, which is famous for having all these beauty salons and hairdressers and whatever. And one day I closed 5 clients with no experience of being a salesperson or whatever. I went back home and I was like, I secured the bag. Wow. And I was just sitting and all I felt was this massive support of all my ancestors, all women behind my back, having my back, my grandmothers, my great-great-grandmothers, all the women in the world who are strong enough to get up, because I always say there is no force greater than a woman determined to rise. And that's where I was. But here's the thing, that wasn't enough. I started my agency, everything was amazing. And then COVID hit last year. And for agency owners, coaches, mentors, all these people who are not first necessity thing, what happens? Bye-bye. So we had to reinvent the business. We started over a year ago. It was in April with my new business partner from scratch. And we managed to scale this shit. Sorry for saying this, but really it was, I'm telling you, there has been 16 hours a day of work, but we never gave up. Even today, when we do the calculation, when we're like, okay, we're close to 6 figures, we're close to this, we're like, I will not give up because I know where I'm going. And you know, actually our dream, which we can dig deeper into that.
That's right. Never give up. Never. Now tell us, what is your why that keeps you going?
Well, Gigi, when I was in South Africa, what really hurt my heart was, again, you will see I'm all about women and true women empowerment. And women empowerment comes when we're given equal opportunities in life. That's real empowerment. Words are nothing. Words are just words. And what I was seeing, and still South Africa is very segregated, so I was seeing a lot of Black women being paid peanuts to work as a cashier or as a store manager. They're not paid equal as men, and they're not paid equal as white people. That wasn't existent. So that was number one. Number two was these women, and there's this psychology in South Africa, and it's terrible. The psychology of raping women, of abusing women, of mistreating women, of treating them like something less, and of normalizing a very toxic marriage, of a husband who is cheating, who is not taking care of the kids, who's not paying for support. And you know what happens when that other half of the family is not there? The woman becomes even more damaged deep inside of her, right? Because true women empowerment is really having the support of the masculine energy, and that was missing. And it broke my heart because so many women could not leave these toxic families because this meant going on the street. And I know for a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, she can go get some job, go find 5 jobs, you'll make it, girl. No, in South Africa, the reality is, who's going to take care of your kids? They didn't even have the money to put their kids in kindergarten and stuff like that, in a good place. It's not like in the States, it's not like in Europe. It is really challenging. And for a lot of these women, truly it meant going on the street. And even people that I became close with, because I love bonding with real women out there, you know, I was having these conversations. I see this beautiful woman, and next thing you know, the next day I see her with a bruise, or I see her face, there's something in her, like she's broken. I'm like, what's happening? She's like, oh, my husband, he went out and got drunk and came back home, and I can't take it anymore. And I'm like, well, why don't you go? And she's like, I can't pay for my rent, for my food, nothing. Well, how much are you being paid? And sometimes it will be like about $100 a month. $100 a month. Imagine, how can you live with $100 a month? You can't. It's impossible. And then you have 2-3 kids. And then it hit me, and I was like, I want to create a business, which was my agency, a marketing agency, where I can teach these women the skills to do social media management or to follow our instructions. So we give them what they need to do for a certain client. They do VA work, they do support and things like that. We just need to teach them. And a lot of them are so smart. A lot of them are just like, they get it. They get it. They immediately like, boom, there we go. I'm done. And they truly want to make it. And that's what we started. We started hiring South African women. Now we started hiring women from all over the world. And in our agency, they have a story. They have a story. They are the breadwinners in the family. They put the bread on the table for their kids. So my why is growing this company and this business, this agency business and coaching business to a state. And I told you my goal is to hit millions, where it's not really the money. It's this opportunity of getting more work so that these women, we can hire more. And last week, we actually interviewed 2 new women because we have more clients and we need more women to support, right? So what I want to do ideally is truly get as many women, this company to turn global, massive, right? Everywhere in the world, there's so many business owners who need help. They need agency help. They need to get online, but really helping these women all over the world, not only in Africa, but all over the world, to have an opportunity in life. So that's my biggest why right now.
That is absolutely amazing. domestic violence survivor myself, so absolutely what you're doing. Now, what's your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
I will say that to live a life of fulfillment and truly stepping into your power, there's one thing you need to do. You need to start loving yourself. But truly, not just like those motivational quotes on Instagram. Love yourself, girl. Self-care day, you go and have champagne. Real self-care is taking the tough decisions to get you out of a tough situation so that you can thrive. And you thrive when you love yourself. You can go through a breakup, you can go through a toxic situation, you can leave a toxic working environment if you truly look yourself in the mirror and you're like, I love you. I mean, I'll do this for you because this is how it is. So true love towards yourself, no judgment, no bad self-talking, don't put yourself down. And most of all, don't sabotage your own self. And we do it sometimes when we feel less. So truly, you are here on this earth, first of all, to experience yourself and then other people. But you can only do that when you experience yourself and your core.
Love yourself. Very powerful. Now, where can the audience?
So people can find me in my group. It's called Future Business Empire. This is where we hang around all the time. Our Facebook group. I know you can see also our website. You can always connect with us there. But the safest way to connect with me is to simply find me on Facebook. I love Facebook because I can communicate with so many people there. Remember, guys, back in the days when you can go networking and actually meet people in real life, BC, before Corona? Well, now we're actually a little bit in a space where Facebook is our new place to meet up. So you can find me on Facebook if you search for Ayo Gospodinova and Gigi Good. I love how you pronounced it. But again, our group is where we hang out. Please join us, Future Business Empire. We talk all about marketing. We talk all about having more clients because more clients means more income, and more income means freedom and opportunities and ease. So this is where you will find me and my beautiful business partner.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Ayo on the website, ACEMPIRE.co. And also make sure to check her out on Facebook. And thank you again for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. You have a blessed day.
Thank you for having me, Gigi.
You're welcome.